So a very good afternoon to everybody.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Now you can see my slide, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Good.
Sir.
So let's start our class. So far we have, all right, our last coverage was up to statistical learning. Now from today onwards, we shall start different learning strategies. We can say it is just the beginning of the machine learning. So statistical learning. So it is actually a prediction, of course, but based on certain probabilistic right calculation. And now we are going to learn about some other more non-probabilistic prediction type. So this particular topic that we are going to discuss in many books, it is also termed as a relation analysis. Now, so the topic that we are going to cover, first a brief introduction to the concept, and after the brief introduction we will discuss about how a relationship can be measured, and then obviously relationship between or relationship among whom. So that also needs to be understood. And then there are two techniques so far the relationship analysis is concerned. They are called correlation analysis and regression analysis, which we shall cover. And a special type of regression analysis, which is called auto-regression analysis, also will be discussed in this class. Now this actually the total coverage, it will take around 2 lecture hours, not 2 exactly, 3 hours of lectures we can say. So today we shall cover some portion, and then tomorrow we shall conclude the remaining part. Now, see, we have already learned about statistical learning in the form of what is called hypothesis testing. This is also called parametric test. Also, it is called the standard test of hypothesis, where we use the concept of distributions, mainly the distribution of samples, and then we have to predict some parameters. That is why the name is called parametric test. So parameters are basically the population parameters. In contrast to this parametric test, there is another test which is a distribution free test also called. But here is also hypothesis come into the picture. And this test is more specifically, it is called non-parametric test. Now, as you know, parametric test, we usually consider whenever there is a very large population, and then population usually follow the normal distribution. And then from the population, we usually have to collect a sample where the size of the sample is manageable, right? So that we can process it. And based on this parametric test, we can predict about some population statistics. And one important point that you should know, that all these parametric tests that we have learned so far, they are applicable to only numeric data. So it is called parametric test is suitable for interval scale data actually. In contrast, non-parametric test does not follow any assumption like that, okay, your population should be right with normal distribution, does not necessary. So in situation where you don't know about your population distribution, then definitely you will be more confident to apply this non-parametric test. So whether population is normal or not normal, absolutely it is not an issue. And more important thing is that the test that we are going to discuss, that is non-parametric test, are applicable to even the nominal data, categorical data, ordinal data, as well as numeric data. So it is applicable to any type of data. And in this case, obviously, the non-parametric test is applicable whenever the entire population are to be taken into account. Now here, whenever we consider about the whole population into your processing or in analysis, then definitely the size of the population is not so big. So we assume that the population is not very large, or we can assume that the sample that we can obtain from a population is very large. Whatever it is there, so it is actually, this is the only thing that we have to take into account, and then we can apply the non-parametric test. Now let's come to the concept of what exactly the non-parametric test. You can recall I was talking about this test is also alternatively in many books, in many articles, it is called relationship analysis. Now let's see what do we mean by the relationship analysis. As an example, let us consider in a particular region, maybe in a municipality or in a particular local region, whatever it is there are many what is called the organizations are there which employ many employees and whatever employees. Now, so what we can understand is that suppose we have the data regarding all the employees who are working in a particular region. Assume that eastern region of India. Now you can note that, so the data that we can collect from a particular region, it is manageable. That means it is not so large data. If we consider the whole country data, then definitely it is very large. But if we consider in a particular municipality or in a local area or in a particular region, maybe in a state, even it can be considered as a manageable data. So it is like this. So so we can consider a database is available which will give us the salary of a set of employees from a particular region. You are having this kind of database in your custody. Okay, that's fine. Now, after having this data, there are many analyses is applicable. Many analyses such as how salary vary with ages of the employee. So we have to understand the relationship between the salary and ages of employees. As another analysis, how salary varies with time. Salary that the employee are receiving, how it varies with years or months or like that. Also, whether salaries are anyway related with employees' education levels. That means if there is any relationship exists between the amount of salary that a particular employee is getting and his or her qualification. So given the data set, if we can find answer to those questions, then this answer is actually in the form of relationship analysis. Now let us have a little bit clear picture about it. So given this data set, how we can come to an inference about this analysis, right? How salary varies with ages or something. One simple way is that if we can plot the data on a graph, and it will look like possibilities like, say, suppose salary, which is mentioned here in say in Indian rupees or in 50K, 100K, 200K, 300K, like this. And these are the salary ages. So ages is along the horizontal axis, and then salary is along the vertical axis. So 20, 40, 60, 80, all those things are here. Now, so all the dot point as it is plotted in the graph, actually it is a point. So point regarding salary component and then age component. So it is X and Y line. So each point represents the record of an employee. That's fine. Now, so this gives a little bit a distribution of the different values of the salaries versus ages. Now, from this graph, can we conclude regarding how salary varies with ages? So what should be your conclusion like? So conclusion, apparently it looks like that, okay, it is some sort of, okay, chaotic look like. So it is not right. You cannot say anything very confidently that salary increases linearly or increases randomly or these kind of things are there. You can just simply tell so many answers, but all answers may not be correct also. So what we can do is that we can apply some procedure on this right data, and then this procedure will give you a curve or a line which looks like in this figure, right? So this is one line. Somehow applying some method, we obtain it given this data to you. Now this line, therefore, if we analyze, then we can tell something that the salary of employees increases linearly around, and up to around 60 years of age, it is increases linearly, and after around 60 years of age, the salary decreases linearly, or around like this. So approximately linearly, it is like this. Now this kind of what is called the behavior or the relationship of salaries among the salaries and the employees' ages can be inferred if we can obtain this kind of what is called the curve. Okay, so this is one example. Now let us proceed with another one example so that you can understand the things it is there. Here, suppose you have the data regarding the salary and the amount of salary that is, those are obtained by the different employees along different years. For example, here for 2010 year, how the salary varies among the different employees are plotted. Similarly, for 2012, 2014, 2016, these are plotted. Now, having this kind of arrangement, right, can we conclude anything about how salary varies with year of the employees? So from this graphical representation, we can guess something. But again, if we can apply certain procedure, and this procedure is called the relationship analysis procedure, we can obtain this kind of curve. Is a line actually we obtain. Now again, I say this line, right, based on this kind of data, obtain applying some procedure, and this line give your answer actually. So these lines, right, tells that salary of the employees increases with year. But what is the rate of increases? That also possibly we will be able to tell that, okay, it is increases slowly or increases largely, whatever. So it is actually, we can say that, okay, salary increases with the year and there is a slow increase. Even rate of increase also we can calculate. So this is the one, another example, and this example related to the relationship analysis. Now let us come another example. Here, this is another plot. This plot gives how salary varies with the education level of all the employees. So here the different education level, say 10th, 12th, then undergraduate, graduate, and then maybe postgraduate, it is like that. And for each education level, for all employees, how the salary varies are plotted. So here as we see, the salary with the employees who are having education level, say 10 standard, varying from this point to this point. Similarly, for another education level, it varies from this value to this value, and so on. Now, so this plot gives some information, of course. What is the minimum salary, maximum salary obtained by the employees having particular education level, all those things are there. But can we tell more precisely regarding how salaries, right, are related with the education level of the employees? So possibly it is not possible. Okay, we will not be able to give the concrete answer to those right question, but we can apply again a relationship analysis method and then we can obtain this kind of, right, data, this kind of plots. Actually, you can recall what this plot is. This plot is actually the box plot, right? So box plot, you know, this is a minimum, this is a maximum, and this is Q1, the 25% quartile, and this is the 75% quartile, and this is the median. Now here, from the box plot, for each education level, if we have, then we can have some pattern like that, how the median, I mean, it is almost, okay, if it is normal distribution, then we can, and then symmetric, then we can say it is also sort of mean that how the salary varies. So for the education levels of the employees are concerned. So we can say that it is varying linearly, or it is varying non-linearly, or randomly, whatever it is there, we can tell it. Now, these are the three examples which tells you that how the different information can be analyzed from a given database. Okay, and there are many more information, right, also can be obtained from the data set. Like given an employee's salary, we can predict what is his age. That is also quite possible, right? Also, we can predict about whether the salary has any association with both the year in which year the employee is working and his or her education level. So here association among two things also can be analyzed. So these are the few examples which I gave you to understand that how relationship analysis is very important to deal with data, and that data is, I told you, that is a manageable size. It is not so large, even not so small also, and we can do it. So this is come under the topic, it is called the relationship analysis. Now, before going to learn what are the methodologies, those are there related to this relation analysis, I can start with one example. It is not example, rather, it is actually a quiz problem. This problem is very simple. It is a trivial problem actually. So here, as you see, around 50 to 60 points are plotted, right, in a graph, in a 2D graph. So x1, y1, x2, y2, dot, 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 or say maybe x50, y50. So 50 points are there. Now, how you can store all those 50 points information? Quick answer is that we can define an array of 2 dimensions, x and y, and then all values, right, for each, right, x1, y1 can be stored there, and this way. So it is just simply a 2D arrays storing 50 points information. That's fine. Now let's see. Now consider it is not 50, so 500. Then definitely we can do it again, and in that case we should use 2D array of size 500. If it is 5,000, no issue, we can use, so long our memory, computer memory can allow, we can go ahead storing 2D arrays. So whether it is 50 or 500 or 5,000 or 5 million, absolutely those things should not be a big problem. But there is a problem. The problem is that processing 5 million data also very difficult. And that is not only the fact, the thing is also that inferencing from such a very large data is also very tedious. Instead, what we can do is, it is exactly instead the same thing, that can we, right, represent, or can we store all the points, maybe 50, 500 or 5,000 or 5 million, but in terms of as minimum storage as possible. So what will be the answer, right? So answer is that if we want to store very large set of data with a minimum storage, how we can do that? Now, the answer here is that we can store not the actual data, but the relationship among the data. If we store the relationship and that relationship takes much smaller memory, then we can solve our problem. Now, here the question therefore arises is that how we can find what is the relationship among these data. Okay, now can you tell me how many points that you can consider to store all those data, and those are the minimum number of points that you can think about? Yes? How many minimum, right, storage that you can think about to store, say, all these 50 points information?
So it depends on how much memory each point is taking, because we don't know how much
Let us
is.
consider 2 bytes each. 2 bytes, 2 bytes, 4 bytes for each point. And so 50 into 4, so total 200 bytes is required. I want to store with minimum amount of memory. Okay, you will get the answer quickly. Here is the clue. So you can see what we have done here. We draw a line. We draw a line such that the line should passes through all the points as close as possible. That means the line should be, right, as close as possible to all points. Now again, okay, fine, we can have some idea about it, or randomly we can draw, although there are infinite number of such lines are possible. Anyway, for the sake of simplicity, we can draw any arbitrary line, but those line passes through all points. Now, this actually tells you the relationship between X and Y. And what is the relationship? How we can model the relationship? The relationship can be modeled. This is actually the model which, right, represents the relationship. So it is the relationship by is okay stored by a model. Now here you see this is the model, right? This model tells many things actually. This model says that how X varies with Y, how X varies, or we can say how Y varies with X, because here Y is the dependent, right, variable assuming, and X is the independent variable. Alternatively, we can write X is equals to AY plus B also. In that case, other is dependent and other is independent, whatever it is here. So let's Y is the dependent and X is the independent. Now, so this represents the relationship between X and Y. So here X and Y are the two, okay, are the two, what is called the, we can say two attributes or two values or whatever you can tell. Now here, our objective, you see, our objective is store all the points information. Instead of, we can store the value of, we can store the value of A and then the value of B only, right? So we can store the value of A and B only. Now, storing the value of A and B, actually we are storing the relationship. And this relationship is modeled by this equation of a straight line. And this A and B are the information. Having this the value of A and B for any values of X, then we will be able to find what is the corresponding value of Y. That's all. So whether it is 50 or it is 500 or it is 5,000 or 5 million, we don't bother about. Only we just bother about storing two values of A and B. These two A, B value, okay, it is a real values, real numbers we can say. So if a point corresponding to x1 or y1 store 2 bytes each. Then here A also needs 2 bytes and then B also 2 bytes. So altogether 4 bytes. So storing only one point actually, you can say, which actually represents all other points, those are possible. Now storing one point, actually it is not that point I should say, it is actually the model information. This model information represents a relationship between X and Y. So this is the concept of relationship analysis that's come into the picture, and now you can understand how powerful the relationship analysis is. It not only the storage management point of view, but it is also inference point of view. From this y equals to x plus b, I can tell about that x and y varying linearly. But always the point distribution may not be like this, where you cannot draw a straight line like that. In that case, you could draw one non-linear line like this also. No problem. In that case, this non-linear line also can be expressed in the form of a model representation. That may be y equals to x square plus bx plus c, because it is not linear, it is non-linear. So in that case, definitely we have to store 3 parameters, a, b, and c. But those 3 parameters represents any point, those are related to each other. So this is the concept, and this relationship analysis is very important therefore. Now let's see, relationship we have understood. Now is there any way to measure the relationship? Now the measurement, so far the measurement is concerned. So far the measurement is concerned. Here you know, measurement means we should express the relationship in a quantitative manner. Whatever the relationship model, it is also a measurement, but it is a different form of, right, presenting the relationship. Now we are more interested about the measurement of relationship quantitatively. What is the quantitative? Okay, let us see what is the subjective measurement. I can say subjective means the relationship exists or not exist. So this is also a subjective measurement. Now even if the relationship exists, then whether the positively relation or negative relation. Now what do you mean by positive and negative? That also we should know. Anyway, so it is also another. Or maybe if it is a positive relationship exists, then whether it is a strong, moderate, or low strength. So those are the concept of, right? So for subjective measurement is concerned. And quantitative measurement means if x and y are 2 attributes, then if they are related, then I can say that their relation is, say, with value 100. Another, okay, data that is given to you, and then relationship value is 0. So that relationship measurement in a quantitative scale can give you many information, in fact, and you can infer many things from there. Now let's see how the relationship can be measured. Now before going to that, let us see what form of the data that is given to you. In the past, I mentioned one type of data. This is called the univariate population. What is the univariate population? Say temperature is the only attribute. This is the temperature is the only variable or attributes, and we have to store the data here. So like temperature may be age, like temperature may be score obtained by students in some exams like this one. Now such a data, it is called the univariate population. Actually such a univariate population can be stored in a one-dimensional array, I can tell. Okay, so in a one-dimensional array, and you can recall all population which we have considered so far our parametric tests are concerned, they are essentially univariate population, right? A list of values, list of numbers, list of numerical values actually, okay. So here the measurement among the relationship that can be done, which we have already done, it is actually a statistical measures. Those actually in the form of a statistical learning line. Now another type of data, another form of data, which is okay very much common in many real life applications, they are called bivariate population. So bivariate population in contrast to univariate means there are two attributes are involved. One attribute is pressure, another is temperature. So you can think in a simplified manner that how pressure varies with temperature in a given system. So here for pressure the different values, and corresponding to a value of a pressure there is a corresponding temperature. So that's fine. So the such a data, right, can be stored in the form of a two-dimensional table. Two-dimensional means it consists of only two columns, and the number of rows depends on the total number of data that is to be stored. If 100 data to be stored, then it is actually 100 cross 2 is the size of the table. It is essentially a 2D matrix of size 100 cross 2. So this is a bivariate population. Now we should not limit here. There may be, okay, ternary variate population or maybe multivariate population. Here, usually they are called multivariate population. Suppose you want to store the information about a system regarding pressure, volume and temperature. So for 100, okay, for 100 such data we want to store. Okay, so it is again another matrix of 3 dimensions, right? 100, and then pressure for 1 dimension, temperature and volume is another dimension. So there are 3 columns and then 100 rows, for example, if 100 data are there. So it is essentially 100 cross 3 is the size of the table. Now if we add, in addition to this pressure, volume, temperature, suppose say viscosity or any other parameters, those are related to a particular system or application, then I don't think that it is a problem. So dimension may increase. Dimension means number of attributes may increase. And then we can go on storing, and that concept you can recall, we can store this information in the form of a data cube and then we can eat. So whether it is a bivariate or multivariate, storing actually not a problem, and we can, right, we can perceive those information in the form of a table like. Okay, so table essentially a 2D representation of data also. For a simplistic okay, view I am telling you. Anyway, so this is the idea. So data that is given to you, that's fine. And then whether it is bivariate, multivariate, it is there. Now our problem here is that relationship. So in case of bivariate data, the relationship between pressure and temperature, that is fine. Or okay, how pressure varies with temperature or temperature varies with pressure, whatever it is there. Now in case of multivariate population, there will be only one dependent variable, one dependent attributes, and depending on the number of attributes, others are independent attributes. For example, how pressure varies with volume and temperature. So pressure, and then there is a relationship of the pressure with volume and temperature. So fine, if the data is given to you, possibly we will be able to express one equation representing the relationship from pressure to volume and temperature, or volume to pressure and temperature, or temperature to pressure and volume, whatever it is. That's okay. So this representation of an equation, actually it is a relationship, and that is called the model of the relationship. Anyway, so we can understand that, okay, how it is there. But our objective is to how to measure the relationship. Now here, so far the measurement is concerned. Usually the measurement is for answering 2 important questions. The 2 questions are, first question is, does there exist any correlation? This actually correlation, or it is called the association, right? If it is a binary, then association between 2 variables. If it is a multivariate, association among 2 or more variables. Okay, so the answer question is that, does there exist correlation? answer will be yes or answer will be no. If no, that's fine. We don't have to do anything. But if yes, then question is that what is the degree of correlation? Now here degree of correlation, that is the degree of association, is the measure of relationship. So degree can be measured in the numerical scale, in a numerical scale. Another type of question, that is there any cause and effect relationship between the variables? What is the meaning of cause and effect relationship? If we increase the value of one, whether the other value will increase or decrease, that is called the cause and effect relationship. Now again the answer to this question will be yes or no. If no, then there is no more of a point of discussion. But if yes, then what is the degree? Right? And then degree actually called in which direction, right? So whether it increases, then other is increases, or decreases, other increases, or whatever the things are there. So many directions are there. Now finding the answer to these questions, whether this correlation or cause and effect relationship, actually solve using two different type of analysis procedures. They are called correlation analysis and regression analysis. Correlation analysis is to measure the relationship, right, between two variables or two attributes, and regression analysis to measure the cause and effect relationship. Now let us first start the discussion of correlation analysis first, and then we shall discuss regression analysis possibly from next class. So let us start the discussion of correlation analysis. Now here, consider a multivariate population given to you. This is a multivariate data that is given to you, and this multivariate data defined in terms of two attributes, A and B. A is the attribute, B is the attribute. Say A may be a salary and B may be age. As you see here, for this attribute there is a range of values which is shown here, and for the attribute B there is again range of values which are shown here, and for any one entry actually is a record. So it shows that what is the value of attribute A and what is the corresponding value of attribute B. So it is the things are here. So this is a bivariate population, and as I say, suppose this attribute A represents weight and this attribute represents B. So this means that how weight varies with height, all those things we are interested to know. That is, in other words, we can see whether A and B, that means weight and height, are correlated to each other or not. Now this correlation can be expressed in three notation. One is called the positive correlation, another is called negative correlation, or zero correlation. So the positive correlation implies the value of A increases with the value of B or vice versa. Negative correlation implies the value of A decreases with the increases of the values of B or vice versa. And zero correlation implies there is no relation, that is no that kind of increase-decrease relationship between A and B. So these are the three different correlations. Those are we can draw from the bivariate population. Now I am thinking only bivariate population. I shall not discuss about multivariate population at the moment, but those are also possible anyway. But let us learn the simple thing first, then the complex things automatically can be learned. So now here is an example. This example tells about the two attributes, hour of study and then exam score. Here exactly those are the students preparing for JEE advanced, IIT, JEE or whatever it is. So there, how much study a student does throughout the preparation period, and what are the exam score of the students. This is stored here. So for example, here one student who on the average study for 3 hours and then his or her score is 80, like this one. So here this is a data that is given to you. Now our objective is that whether there is a relationship between or association between our study and exam score, or exam score and our study, whatever, right? So here, this is the problem that is given to you. So how A and B, here A means our study, B means exam score are related. So one way what you can do is, let us plot along this direction hour of study, along this direction score. So this will give the distribution of the values of the different records that you can have. And then this is actually, if we draw a line, then we can say that, okay, it's not the linear, right? It is, okay, almost linear, we can say, of course. And what is the conclusion? Conclusion is that, yes, there is a relationship between hour of study and the exam score. The students who, right, give more times to the studies score marks better than the others. It is like that. Now here, this is the relationship. Now again, let's come to the question, whether the positive or negative. I should say it is a positive. This is because as the hour of study increases, the score increases. So it is an example of a positive correlation. Okay. Now the correlation, again, it is important only when the two attributes those are given to you are really meaningful attributes. What I should say, meaning of the meaningful attributes. Here, for an example, let us consider another 2D data, like number of CDs sold in shop X and number of cigarettes sold in another shop Y, XY. So two shops are there. Let us consider these two shops are in a particular location or locality, like maybe in your campus, X and Y. So here we collect some data. That means how many, okay, say, suppose we have collected 30 days selling data from the two shops, X and Y, and the different values that we obtain from the two shops are, okay, stored there, like this. Now here, again, if we plot, right, in the form of a curve, and then we can see there is a relationship or association between the CD and the CD sold and the number of cigarettes sold. Now here my question is that, are the two attributes are related to each other under any physical point of view or physical application point of view or physical meaning point of view? Apparently, the number of CDs and the number of cigarettes sold are totally some non-related some event, we can say. And then, although we have collected data and then some, okay, for some unknown reason or whatever it is there is a very nice, okay, this kind of positive correlationship shows, but it is actually not so much meaningful relationship information. What I want to say is that two attributes which are meaningful, which are significant in some sense of application, then the relationship between the two are also meaningful or significant, otherwise not. Now in this case, however, if you say that, okay, the number of CD sold also related to the number of cigarettes sold. How? Because those are, okay, watching CD, at the same time they are smoking. So the much more CD selling also has some relation to the number of cigarettes sold. If you say so, then definitely I must admit that, okay, then the relationship between the two attributes are meaningful and therefore the relationship makes sense. Otherwise, I can say that there is no sensible information so far the relationship analysis is concerned. Anyway, we shall understand, we shall assume that whatever the attribute that is given to you, they are meaningful and the relationship really makes sense. Now here again, I have given few graphs, and from the first plot, here some random points along x-axis, some random values for some attributes along y-axis, it is like this. And then what is my point of submission here is that how this distribution are there. As I see, if the value of x varies or increases, then value of y increases. So there is a relationship, of course, and this relationship is called positive correlation. Now, how negative correlation? If one value is decreases, other increases, or vice versa. For example, if it is increases, other value y decreases, so it is one relationship. Now, this is also one relationship, and this kind of relationship is called negative correlation. Now, here the values are random, so there is no relationship. So we can say zero correlation. Now, here, therefore, our objective is to find the measurement of relation with some numerical values. That is what we can say the degree of relationship or degree of association. In the field of relationship analysis, this measurement usually denoted by small r. R stands for relationship strength. The value of r lies between +1 to -1. So it is actually a normalized value, we can say. So +1 means it is the perfect positive correlation or strongest positive correlation. -1 means it is the perfect negative correlation or the highest degree of negative correlation. And r equals to 0, this means that there is no correlation. So this is what is called the meaning of so far the metric measuring the degree of relationship is concerned. So in summary, the degree can be expressed by a symbol, it is called r. The value of r lying between +1 to -1, both inclusive, and r equals to 0 means no relation. A positive value of r means it is a positive correlation. Negative values of r means it is a negative correlation. Okay, now here again. So here the values of r is positive, right? And in this case, this value of r is the highest value. It is almost r equals to +1, almost +1. Now, if this is also one graph, this is also one correlation. We can draw a line, right? But here you see the degree of correlation, although it is positive, but the degree of correlation is less compared to this kind of pattern. Now here again high correlation, and here high negative correlation, and it is an example of low negative correlation. If it is r equals to +1, we can say it is r equals to +7, +0.7. If r equals to -1, in this case, for example, then we can say it is r equals to -0.4 or like this one. So this is the concept by which r can be measured. As I said here again, this is an example of r equals to +1 when we can find a line in such a way that all points lies on the line. Then we can say it is r equals to +1. This is another example of negative. Here all points, I mean highest negative correlation, all points lies on the line. If some points have, not lying on the point, then this r value will be changed. Here if this point is there, then this point is there, then we can say that r is not equals to +1, it is less than +1. Similarly here, this one, it is like this, then the r value is not exactly -1, but it is some greater than the -1 value, maybe like this one. And this is an example of r equals to 0. Now here again, this is the one, another, plot. Now here you tell whether it is a positive correlation or negative correlation or no correlation in this case. So definitely your answer is positive correlation. This is because one value is increased, other value increases, so positive correlation. Now that's fine. Then what is the value? It is very close to 1 or exactly 1 or less than 1, right? So your answer will be, it is r equals to +1. It is exactly 1. It is a strong positive correlation. But the difference between these two is that this is a linear relation, whereas the relation is non-linear relation. Only this is the difference, but they have the strong high positive correlation, namely having degree +1 both cases. Further, one more twist. Say suppose there are another point is given for which we draw the line like this. So another point is here, and so another set of point. It is like, but it is a different line. Different lines means I am telling you that line with different slope. It is drawn. Now tell me whether again for all the points which lies on the line, the positive correlation or no correlation, or the degree of this line will be greater than this or vice versa, whatever it is there. What will be your answer? So answer is that for this line also, right, if all the points lies on this line, then also all points satisfy the strong positive correlation, and in this case also r equals to +1. This means that slope of the line is not important. Only important is that how many points are lying on the line or how many points are deviated away from the line. That is important so far their degree of correlation measurement is concerned. Here is another example. Here suppose this is the one plot where some point actually it is there. So this is the region where distribution of points are there. So I can say that all points, let in all curves, there are 100 points, but they are very closely related. And then if we draw a line like this, is a linear line, then all points are very close to each other. But it is actually less than +1 correlation because all points exactly not lying on the lines. So in that case, we can measure, but how I can measure, I will tell you. So it is actually, okay, it is found at r equals to 0.8. Here again, you see, it is a little bit dispersed. So it is 0.6 and more dispersion 0.4. And then a very much dispersion is a 0.3. And you can understand that, okay, how in all four cases, the positive correlation, but the degree or the degree of correlation degree of correlations are different in 4 situations. Now, so there are, I think, time, okay, I have 7 minutes. I may take another 10 minutes to conclude another discussion. If you permit me another extra 3-4 minutes, I think I can conclude it is better. Now, I'm discussing about measuring correlation among 2 attributes, and it is called correlation coefficient measurement, that is the value of r. There are 3 methods known for this purpose. One method is called Karl-Pearson coefficient of correlation measurement. This method is applicable when the attributes are expressed in the form of a numerical values. Another method is called Charles-Spearman correlation coefficient analysis, and this measurement is applicable if the attributes are expressed in the ordinal type. Then another method called the chi-square coefficient correlation method measurement. It is applicable for categorical attributes. So I have chosen 3 different methods applicable to 3 different type of data. So I just want to discuss about the Karl-Pearson coefficient correlation method for measuring the degree of relationship, and which is applicable for the numerical attributes. It is called the Pearson correlation analysis. Now here is the formula. Here say x and y are the 2 attributes, and you know x has set of values, y has set of value. You can store them in a 2D table. So according to this Karl-Pearson coefficient measurement, this is called the R star. Actually R star because to indicate that it is Karl-Pearson coefficient measurement, R star. Now xi minus x bar, you can understand what is the x bar and y bar. They are the mean for the all attribute values x. Y bar is the mean for all attribute values y. Xi is the ith values, and then taking the summation of product of xi minus x bar into yi minus y bar in the numerator, and in the denominator it is called the standard deviation for all the values of the attribute x, and sigma y is the standard deviation for all the values of the attribute y in the denominator, so product of this one. So this is the formula. I am not able to discuss how this formula is expressed. So this formula is very old formula. Okay, it is a mathematically very much renowned formula, popular formula proposed by Karl-Pearson, and this is for measuring the degree of correlation among the 2 attributes x and y. Let us consider an example here. We have considered 17 records, and then two attributes are considered. One attribute is called the gestational age and then birth weight. Whenever the baby is in the womb, right? So there are actually two attributes are involved. So far the clinical analysis is concerned. So it is actually birth at the time of, weight at the time of birth. This is actually in gram, it is expressed in these values. And then it is how many weeks the baby was in the womb of mother. So it is actually the weeks, right? So the different weeks, 34.7, and then the weight of the baby on birth, it is 1.895 kilogram. It is like this. So this data is given to you. And now our objective is that whether gestational age having any correlation, right, with the birth weight of the baby. So that is what the clinical expert wants to know. And then for this purpose, let's see how we can apply the Karl Pearson correlation analysis. All the data that is given here, if you have the MATLAB or Python programming environment, you can easily plot the graph and you can find this kind of plotting. And this is actually called the scatter plot, right? You can draw it. Now from the scatter plot, so whether this is or whether this is, whatever it is there, you can find some what is called the pattern it is there. Now whatever the pattern you can find it, what is your conclusion? Apparently conclusion is correct that, okay, so the relationship between the gestational age and then birth weight exists, and this is a positive relation. That means the birth weight of a baby is positively correlated with gestational age. That means baby more time in the mother's womb, take birth with more weight. It is the concept like this. Now let's see what is the R-star measure. That means the degree of correlation between the gestational age and then birth weight. So that can be obtained from this table data easily. From this we can find X bar. From this we can find Y bar. From this data we can find sigma X. From this data we can find sigma Y. So here is the method that we can find it. X bar, the mean of the all values of gestational age, mean of all the values of birth weight, and then this is actually variance of all the gestational age. These are variance of the birth weight, right? And then we can have this formula that is actually Karl Pearson correlation measurement formula, and it is found on the detailed calculation. If you use calculator, that it is equals to 0.82. It is not exactly 1.0. This is obviously that, okay, it is like that correlation. It is not exactly 1.0, but it is very close to, right? So this correlation analysis signifies that there is a strong positive correlation between gestational age and then birth weight. Now, so this is the concept. I hope you have understood this concept. But there is again another, what is called a glitch maybe. There is a one catch also you can see. For example, because of some entry by the operator in your table or some noise in the measurement, for example, the weight machine that you have used, that is also faulty. For some reason, the data may be suspicious to you because of the noise or because of the outlier. So then if suppose one value is very high, which will impact the relationship here, it can be like, but actually it may not be like that. So there is a need to test whether this calculation is a valid calculation or not. Now for this purpose, Karl Pearson proposed a significance test. So here the significance test, actually this is the formula. Again, I am not going to discuss the details of this formula, but this formula is called t-test formula. But you should not confuse the t-test with the distribution-based t-test that we have discussed while we are discussing statistical learning. But this is a different formula, of course, and this formula says that a t-value can be calculated in terms of n is the total number of records that is given, r is the degree of correlation, that is r star actually in this case, and 1 minus r star actually like this one. So this is a formula that t-value can be obtained. In this case, n is 17 because 17 records, and r star that is found is 0.82, and this t value that can be obtained at 1.44. So this is the t value. Now again, the t distribution table which we have used so far, the sampling distribution concern in the same distribution table also can be used to know whether this t value allowed us to accept this result or not. Now to do that, as you know, the t table can be consulted with degrees of freedom versus the significance level, right, value. So let us consider the significance level is 5% level of significance. So alpha value is 0.05, and in this case degree of freedom is 50. For a one-dimensional table, the degree of freedom with n number of elements is n-1. For a two-dimensional table with number of records n, the degree of freedom will be n-2. So 17 minus 2, so 50. So what we have to do is that in the statistical t table, we have to consult with degree of freedom and for alpha value to know what is the critical value, that means boundary for accepting this value or not. So this value is 1.753. So this means that it is like this 1.753, and your observed value for this sample data it is 1.44. So this means that if the boundary, if the rejection region start from here, it is in the acceptance region. That means this correlation analysis that we obtain, it is in acceptable. So that it is not that by chance this correlation is there, or not that due to noise or outliers it is there. It is actually genuine correlation exists. So this is about the Karl Pearson correlation analysis, which we can easily do it. A simple programming using your Python or MATLAB is sufficient. Okay, so this is about today's plan of delivery. So tomorrow we shall discuss about another correlation analysis. It is called the Charles Spearman correlation analysis. And okay, that's fine. So if you have any question, quickly I can take your question because I'm a little bit beyond the time. Any question, please?
So can we ask tomorrow?
Yeah, definitely, sure. You are most welcome. Definitely.